What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from TheTokenMinorities, and I'm here with NPL Season 6 Week 10 against the Jersey Dwebbles and Cloud Envy. Make sure to check out the description below as there will be a link to his channel. Definitely give him a look. Now, one thing I do want to say right away is that I'm actually not playing Cloud in this particular game. He is the coach of the team, but he was not able to play this week due to a variety of personal reasons. And with that said, I'm actually going to be playing his assistant coach, who is the Flying Bird, who just so happens to be exactly who helped me build last week, so that's kind of interesting. But, so I do have a formidable opponent regardless of Cloud's absence in Bird, as he is definitely a solid player. I think his strength is in his building, but he's definitely a strong player as well, so it will not be an easy game by any means. With that said, let's take a look at the matchup real quick, as he has Empoleon, Fortress, Mega Beedrill, Florges, Arcanine, which is Z eligible, Hitmontop, Manectric, Flygon, Celebi, which is Z eligible, Gyarados, which is Z eligible, Sneasel, and Tauros. So this is basically a UU team with... It's a UU team with a Tauros and with, I guess, a Sneasel's probably not UU. So it's a pretty low tier team, but that doesn't mean it's not effective. Don't let the record fool you, as his record, or Cloud's record with this team, is currently 1-8. So obviously not a stellar record. But he's had a lot of close games. He played some of the top players in the league very closely, and it just means that this draft in the coach himself is not someone that should be taken lightly. He can beat anybody on any given day. Yes, I'm facing Bird instead of Cloud in this matchup, which may or may not be easier or harder depending on how you look at it, but even so, the team itself, despite the fact that it's primarily UU, does not mean it's going to be an easy team to prep for. And that's confirmed by the fact that there are actually several pretty big threats on his team. And those include things like the Empoleon, which an agility Empoleon set with a Bataille Berry or even a weakness policy can definitely put the work on my team if it has the right coverage moves. That's the thing, though. It does have to choose its coverage moves against my team, which it makes the defensive synergy of my team really, really helpful for that. But also things like a Swords Dance Mega Beedrill, that could be pretty annoying, especially if he's able to get up a free Swords Dance. Don't plan to let that happen, but if it gets up a Swords Dance, it can OHKO most of my team with its stab. And then a Z Arcanine is also kind of threatening because it has the potential to run both Z Wild Charge as well as Z Solar Beam to hit my respective switch-ins to this, being most likely Mandibuzz and Gastrodon. And then the Celebi, a more offensive variant, I find to be pretty threatening against my team just because, again, if it runs something like Z Dazzling Gleam or Z Ancient Power, it'll be able to do a lot of damage to the Mandibuzz in combination with Hidden Power Fire, and then it stabs, it can cover my entire team, as well as maybe be a nuisance defensively if he wants to use that as his switch into Mega Lopunny. And then things like Z Bounce, Gyarados. Everyone who plays OU knows that those Z power-ups of the two-turn flying moves like Fly and Bounce are really, really threatening, especially on Lando T, but definitely also on Gyarados here, as at +1, a Z Bounce is actually able to OHKO most of my rosters. So that's not really something I can allow to happen, especially considering how important my defensive components are against his team. And I'll talk more about that once we get into the team builder, as you'll see that I do over-prep a little bit for Gyarados, as I really do not want to be in a position where Gyarados is at +1 and has its Z move intact, because that will essentially be bad. Very bad. And then the last threat I do want to highlight a little bit here is the Tauros, as Tauros, sure, it's not really thought of as being the biggest threat in the world, but it actually is a threat to my team because of the fact that, being a normal type, it has access to a lot of elemental coverage moves like Fire Blast, even Thunderbolt or Ice Beam. I guess it also gets Blizzard, so it has ways to hit my Ferrothorn and my Mandibuzz, as well as my Metagross, all of which would be my most likely switch-ins to it, I would say. And then just its normal stab in the form of either Rock Clam or Body Slam, as it does get Body Slam with sheer force now, would be able to do a lot of damage to things like my Gastrodon or even, again, my Mandibuzz. Pretty much everything on my team, actually, besides the Metagross and the Ferrothorn. So Tauros definitely is a threat. I could even see a more special Tauros coming. That's something I was kind of exploring in my mock battles for this game, as even special Tauros can put in a lot of work. It obviously doesn't do as much to things like Mandibuzz, but I would go as far as saying that a modest Tauros with Blizzard probably with 2-hit KO Mandibuzz. So definitely not a guaranteed counter by any means. So I'm going to have that checked in a variety of ways as well. So he does have some threats on his team. I also have some threats on mine though, as he doesn't have much at all for Thundurus T, as his only electric switch-ins are things like Celebi, Manectric, and Flygon, all three of which are weak to Ice, and even better for me, they are all weak to something that can be boosted by a Z move, and that is Sludge Wave. So the Poisonium Z will be coming this week, which I'll talk more about here soon, as a Poisonium Z boosted Sludge Wave does OHKO most Celebi variants, as well as probably nearly OHKOing Manectric, as well as I can pack Hidden Power Ice covers to deal with the Flygon. Yes, obviously Sludge Wave's not going to help too much for that, but that's that. Gothitelle, not too great against him. Megalopunny is okay against him. It's going to need some support to be able to shine this week, but it's still really nice to have that priority option for the Mega Beedrill, as I don't have anything on my team that can outspeed Mega Beedrill, so I can only outspeed it with Scarvers and priority, so I'm going to have to bring some sort of combination of those to be able to deal with him effectively. And then really just my defense is so solid against him, but in the combination of Ferrothorn, Gastrodon, and Mandibuzz, as he really does not have much at all that can break through all those without getting off some sort of boost, and I feel that I can build a team that prevents him from getting any or many, probably any, setup opportunities. So I'll just talk about the team a little bit, as I've already rambled on a lot here at the team overview. So started off with the wrong mon. Let's start off with this guy. So we do have the Thundurus T, as I already pretty much alluded to, already pretty much did my entire set, with having the Thunderbolts, Hidden Power Ice, Sludge Wave coverage, with the Poison Z boosting the Sludge Wave to allow me to hit, most notably the Celebi, and OHKO, the expected variant of Celebi. I'm going to be supporting this with an Agility, as after an Agility, of course, I'll be able to outpace the Mega Beedrill, as well as outpace really his entire team bar Scarfers, as if I can get up an Agility, I can probably set up on things like Celebi. Honestly, I can set up on the Celebi. He can probably feel like he's safe to stay in, as in general Thundurus T's not going to be able to OHKO a Celebi, so he might stay in. Even if he switches though, that's obviously still a free Agility, and it could be GG essentially. This is a set that can definitely beat him, and we'll just kind of see how that goes. But I do have a little bit of extra bulk on this, sacrificing some speed just so that I can potentially take hits a little better from Beedrill, as this does give me a chance to survive Poison Jab from full health. Obviously after a little bit of chip damage that will not be the case, but that does give me that option should push come to shove, and then I do have enough investment to outpace a speed creeping timid Celebi. So if he happens to expect me to try to outpace a modest Celebi and put 300 investment in something, he might put 301 on Celebi, meaning 302 will outpace that. That's the idea on that, and that's all there really is to say on this. I've already talked about the Thundurus. So next up is the Megalopunny. This is my priority utility mon essentially. I don't expect it to sweep because he has like 4 or 5 Intimidators on his team. He also has things like Arcanine that can easily switch in and dish off Rocky Helmet damage, so I'm not at all expecting this to be a sweeper. It's definitely more of a revenge killer and just a general way of making sure that I don't lose to things like SD, Mega Beedrill, as well as maybe Agility sweepers on his team, as he does have a few of those things that could be pretty threatening. So overall, very, very solid against him. Not going to sweep him, but I think it'll definitely serve me well, especially with the Adamant Nature boosting my attack power. Now next up is the Nidoking. This set is my dedicated lead, and as you can see, it's a pretty funky EV spread, so I'll talk about it a little bit without going into too much detail to bore you, but the speed investment allows me to outpace a max speed Empoleon, as there is a chance that he will run an offensive Empoleon, as I feel offensive Empoleon is the best set against me, if he is going to bring it, as it does check Azumarill pretty well as potentially being a dangerous Agility sweeper with a variety of special coverage moves. So outspeeding that is pretty important. I didn't really feel the need to outspeed anything else though in Nidoking's general speed tier range, as the only other thing I would want to outspeed is the Arcanine, but I'm kind of expecting him to probably outpace max speed Nidoking anyways, so there's not really a point in trying to guess where the Arcanine is going to be in terms of its speed. I'd rather put that extra bit in bulk, as now with this bulk investment, 120 HP and 116 defense, this allows me to survive any hit from Elite Tauros if he decides to Elite Tauros. This allows me to survive any hit from Elite Mega Beedrill, Adamant, or Jolly. And this also allows me to chew hits from Celebi because of my Pyapa Berry that you can kind of see. The layout kind of covers up part of the item slot. I do apologize for that, but that's just the nature of the style, I guess, on Showdown. But Yeah, so Pie Berry mainly for the Celebi, but it's also nice for other things on his team, just having that way of deterring the psychic coverage and being able to stay in, even for the Florges, for example. If he happens to be a, Kebia Berry Florges with Psy Shock to try to lure the Nidoking, it can kind of be a counter lure in a sense, and being able to fire off a Sludge Wave, followed up by another Sludge Wave as he's still not able to take me out with 2 Psy Shocks. Maybe with 2 Psy Shocks. He might not actually be able to. I didn't do that calc, but he might not be able to take me out with 2 Psy Shocks with Pie Berry. Something to think about there, but the coverage of Sludge Wave, Earth Power, and Ice Beam hits his entire team. I have something in my eye, I'm sorry. The coverage of Sludge Wave, Earth Power, and Ice Beam deals with his entire team very well. The best switch-in he has to that coverage is something like, this is a problem. Okay, sorry about that. The best switch-in he has to this coverage is something like the Gyarados. And first of all, if I get chip damage on Gyarados, that's honestly great because of what you'll see for my wall core here coming up. But even so, Gyarados isn't the best switch-in against this because it's still going to take like 30 to 40%. And I really don't see him hard switching Gyarados into Nidoking anyways because that just seems like a really big risk, especially when Gyarados likely would be a win con if he does bring it, probably the Z bounce variant, so I don't really see him trying to hard switch it in. So not really expecting that. I think that coverage will do really well, and then Stealth Rock to obviously just give him a hard time. So that's the general dealio with that set. Next up is the Ferrothorn. So this is overall, again, a utility mon, and I'm just not going to ignore the elephant in the room here. There is Thunderbolt on this Ferrothorn, and as you could probably guess, that's there for the Gyarados. This just makes sure that Gyarados can't set up on me or even try to. I do survive a +2 Z bounce, so that's their +1 Z bounce, not +2. So that will essentially confirm that after the Thunderbolt damage and probably prior damage that I would have on the Gyarados, by the time it has a +1, it will be able to take it out, which is pretty nice. It's also kind of a nice meme to have Thunderbolt, obviously, in this matchup, but it's also nice for the Empoleon, as with the 16 investments, 16 EVs and special attack, this allows me to guarantee that I can break the sub of the most likely sub Empoleon set that he could bring, and by the most likely set, I mean the set that will outpace Max Speed Jolly Mega Lopunny at +2. And I feel like if he brings Agility Empoleon, that's what he'll do. He might try to creep one of my Scarfers, and if he does, that means he has less HP, which means that I will still be able to break the sub of that Empoleon. So that's why I feel like that's enough investment on this, and it still is nearly a 2-hit KO on standard Gyarados. It might be a 2-hit KO. It does a lot to standard Gyarados. Feel free to bring up the calc yourself if you're interested, but 16 EVs and Thunderbolt on Ferrothorn does do damage. I brought it. I brought a special move on Ferrothorn. I said I was going to do that at the beginning of the season. Not sure if it was recorded when I said that, but I did say that, and this is the time for me to do it, so check that off my list. But I also have Knockoff for the Rocky Helmets, Gyro Ball for things like the Mega Beedrill, as well as the Celebi after I get the knockoff damage off, just in case it's more of an offensive Celebi that gives me a way to wear it down, and Leech Seed for general recovery on my own end, plus leftovers, of course, to achieve that. So this is basically designed to be my switch into Celebi, in addition to the Mandibuzz that you'll see here soon. This also can just generally take hits from his team, as very few things on his team can Okomi. I believe the only exception to that is the Arcanine, and that, I mean, obviously I don't want to leave Ferrothorn in on Arcanine anyways. That's just kind of dumb, especially when I have these two mons coming up. So I do have a Mandibuzz. This is a Rocky Helmet set with Foul Play, Roost U-Turn, and Defog. Foul Play for pretty obvious reasons to deal with the setup threats, as well as the Mega Beedrill, as I'm pretty sure it just straight Okos, or at least does a million to it. And then Roost for recovery, U-Turn for momentum, as it's most likely switch into Mandibuzz is going to be the Florges if he brings it. So if I U-Turn on that, I get a free switch into my Nidoking, and that's another kill, as he doesn't have switches to Nidoking. So that's a pretty cool combo there for this matchup. And then of course I have Defog for the hazards, pretty self-explanatory set here, general defensive wall and pivot. And then we have the Gastrodon, another Rocky Helmet, just making sure Beedrill can't beat me, as well as just having a lot of ways to deal with things like his Gyarados, as Rocky Helmets will help wear down the Gyarados into range of my priority from Mega Lopunny. This will also be just a good counter to Mega Gyarados, period, as once it's burned its Z bounce, Gyarados can't touch this, because I am Storm Drain, I have Hidden Power Electric, and I'm Max Defense. It can't do anything to me at all once the Z bounce is gone. And then of course the Ice Beam and Earth Power cover his entire team. Is that really, that's in my opinion probably one of the best dual type coverage options I could possibly have. maybe right behind like Ghost Fighting, as Earth Power Ice Beam hits literally everything on his team, so that's pretty cool for sure. This is going to be walled by Florges, of course, but I do have pretty darn free switch-ins to that in the form of my Nidoking as well as my Ferrothorn to an extent, and I can also set up on Florges with my Thundurus, as the Z Sludge Wave will be able to take it out if it has any damage on it at all. So that is the team. Put a lot of time into this team. And I think it's a good one. And we'll just kind of see what happens. It's a little bit... I don't know. I obviously wish I was actually playing Cloud in this matchup, just because it was more designed with his playstyle in mind. So playing against someone else using Cloud's team does kind of impact that prep a little bit. Perhaps if I had known, more than 3 hours in advance of this battle that I was going to be playing someone who's not Cloud, I might have changed a few things here and there, but overall the team is solid. I think it can do well against anyone wielding Cloud's draft. So let's just go ahead and hop on into the battle, and we will see how this goes down. As you can see, he brought the Mega Beedrill, Sneasel, Celebi, Arcanine, Florges, and Gyarados. So all three of the Z-eligible mons are there. That is something to keep in mind. I don't know which one is going to pack the Z move, but all three of them have Z moves that can do a lot of damage to my team. So definitely keeping an eye on that, and I don't want to let them get a free kill whenever I can avoid that. So also need to keep a close eye on potential Swords Dance Mega Beedrill as well as the Dragon Dance Gyarados. Otherwise, I'm not really scared of setup threats on his team. It could be something like a sub-pass Celebi, but I really don't see that being very effective against me, just due to the general makeup of my team. Florges, not a threat at all, as I do have the Nidoking that can pressure it a lot, as well as things like Mandibuzz, which, yes, that's a dark type, but I can always U-turn on it. As I'm going to be slower, I don't think I pointed that out earlier in the team builder. I have a negative speed investment on the Mandibuzz just to make sure that I can pivot on things like Empoleon and Florges, which is pretty useful here, of course, for the Florges, as even if I take Moonblast damage, it won't do that much to me, and I can get a free switch into Nidoking that way if push comes to shove, as well as I have in my Ferrothorn that can pivot around it as well. So, team preview is looking pretty nice. He basically brought the stuff I would have expected. It's nice to not see the Empoleon or the Tauros, as those were two things that were going to pressure my defensive walls quite a bit, for sure. So not seeing those makes this a lot easier, I think. The downside to this is that it looks pretty hard for my Thunders to get set up on anything. The only things I can really potentially set up on are the Celebi and the Florges, and even then I might be better off just going for the Z Sludge Wave on both of them, as he doesn't have any resistances to poison moves on his team. I guess Beedrill's a resist, but not really. Not really. So he doesn't really have resist to Thundurus at all in this team, so I really don't think I'll be going for any sort of setup moves, especially because he does have the Sneasel, which can pack the Ice Shard, of course, and that would kind of ruin my Thundurus' day in terms of sweeping with an agility set. So we'll just kind of see how that plays out. But my best lead is, of course, the Nidoking, as that is what it's designed to do. He can lead with really anything he wants, and I'll probably stay in and click Stealth Rocks regardless, because he didn't bring anything to get rid of hazards. There's no Fortress here. I kind of expected to see the Fortress. He could be Defog, Mega Beedrill. I don't know. We're just going to lead Nidoking and see what happens. So I'm leading Nidoking. He decides to lead with the Celebi, and I will pause, as turn 1 is actually pretty darn big here. So his best play, well, if he's an offensive set, if he's an offensive Celebi, his best play is either to U-turn or to click Psychic. If he is a more defensive Celebi, his best play is probably to get out. Yeah, I'd say if he's a defensive Celebi, his best play is to get out of there. And I guess he could be like a Kevi Berry and click Stealth Rock. It looks like it's his only rocker, but regardless, my best play is just to stay in and click Rocks, as I'm a Pyapa Berry, so I'm not going to take much damage from Psychic at all. And he can kind of do whatever he wants, and we'll just kind of see what happens. So he actually decides to go for Ancient Power, which was pretty interesting, as I go for my Stealth Rock. Now here, what this next play will do is this next play will tell me if he is Choice Locked, because if he is Choice Locked, he will have to switch here. If he is not Choice Locked, he will go for Psychic. So what's going to happen here is he's actually going to switch and go into his Sneasel, as I'm just going to fire off the Sludge Wave, knowing that I can still take the Psychic if he changes up his moves, and I'm able to score an easy early KO against the Sneasel, making my Thundurus a pretty nice win con suddenly. As the Sneasel is gone, I should be able to have a chance maybe later in the game to set up on things like his Florges or maybe his Celebi if he's not locked into Ancient Power. Now, here he goes into his Celebi. I'm going to make a cheeky switch into my Mandibuzz this time, as that's obviously what he was expecting on the previous turn, and I do get that right, as now I'm going to be able to U-turn on the incoming Florges, go straight into my Nidoking, and that'll be another kill for Nidoking, as there's not any switch-ins in sight on his team for this monster, as he is going to click Protect just to stall out the inevitable here, revealing that he has Protect, also revealing he does not have Leftovers. As he takes a million from Sludge Wave, he goes for Moonblast, meaning he does not have Psychic coverage, and also does not have the Kebia Berry, so it'd be interesting to see what his item is, but he does go down to the following Sludge Wave, and we're off to a very, very good advantage here. Now I'll pause, as here if he is a Jolly Mega Beedrill, I actually do have a chance of surviving the Drill Run, but it's not really something that I feel like I need to do, especially because I still have my Payapa Berry intact, meaning that I can probably save this later on to get another kill against the Celebi with, and if Celebi locks himself into anything else, that's always another kill with Nidoking too, so there's no sense in letting this get weakened. So I'm going to go into my Mandibuzz, as that's very, very safe, especially if he goes for a Swords Dance on this turn. This is the one mon on my team that can always take any one hit from Mega Beedrill, even if he is adamant at +2. So that was my best play. He does prog the Rocky Helmet, taking that little bit of extra chip, and then he goes into his Arcanine. And I'll pause here as well. So this play's a little bit tricky. I expect him to go for a Toxic or a probably Gigavolt, Havoc, or a Wild Charge on this turn, one of those three, and in any case my best play is to go, as he goes with the Solar Beam, in any case my best play is to go for U-turn, as what this does is this will allow me to gain some momentum on whatever play he wants to go for as he charges up a Solar Beam. So we have a little bit of a prep error in this game, and that's something that of course we're going to take advantage of. Obviously that's not what he intended to do at all. He told me after the battle his intention was to have Electrium Z with Wild Charge and then not have Solar Beam. He had Solar Beam for obvious reasons to hit the Gastrodon, but you can only really bring Solar Beam if he has the Grassium Z, and I guess he kind of got hung up in the thought process there. It happens to anyone, especially whenever he was on such limited prep time for this battle, as he was just kind of thrown in at the last minute. So definitely don't think poorly of him as a player. He's a very good player. It just, you know, it's very tough to get thrown into a situation like this at the last possible minute and play the game. So I'm going to take advantage of this as he's locked into Solar Beam, and I'm going to go into my Thunderous and just click that T-Bolt, as it does a million to it, revealing that he is not an HP invested Arcanine, which is kind of expected, especially because we did not see the Rocky Helmet. But here I'm going to just go ahead and take him out with the Thunderbolt, and he goes into his Beedrill. I can't quite take a hit despite my HP investment, so I'm going to go into my Ferrothorn as he goes for the Protect, probably scouting to see if I was Choice Scarfed, as if I was Choice Scarfed then he could just go into a Celebi for free. So that's an okay play on his end. That's probably, I don't know, I guess that was an okay play. But here I'm just going to go for the Gyro Ball as he Poison Jabs, so I'm not really sure what he was doing on that turn. That might have been just an effort to sack Beedrill to Ferrothorn so that he can set up on me with Gyarados. That's my guess, as if he was an Intimidate Gyarados, which also was a mistake on his end, he meant to be Intimidate. If he was an Intimidate Gyarados, he could have come in and potentially set up on my Ferrothorn, because he is a sub leftover set, meaning that he'd be able to take a power up without getting his sub broken. But unfortunately for him, the memes come through, and here comes the T-Bolt, and we're going to not let this Gyarados do anything at all. So it's really, really cool to see the Thunderbolt actually come through, despite the fact that it probably wasn't my best bring in the matchup, but you know, it's working, so I'm going to say it was the right call. But he's going to just go through a series of going for Bounce, and I get paralyzed as I try to go for T-Bolt, and you know how that goes. Yellow Magic is wonderful, and we're going to basically be in a situation where he's going to sub down, trying to fish for a free sub and free DDs, trying to get me full pair. That's his only way to win. And even if he gets in that position, I still am in a very good position myself, as what I can do is I can always go into my Mega Lopunny, and I can always go into my Mega Lopunny, which does have the double priority, and now that he's easily in range of that at this point as well, I also have things like the Gastrodon at full health, which can take any hit, force him to bounce, which can allow me to go into other things and get him more weakened that way. So there's no way he's going to beat me with the Gyarados. It's just really a matter of the differential at this point, as obviously it's looking pretty bad for him at this point, especially, I mean, it's definitely easing the burden a little bit by getting the para hacks over and over and over again, but Yellow Magic is not my friend, so that's how that goes. But Thunderbolt does get the KO, so that's pretty cool. As now he goes into Celebi, I'm going to try to go into my Mana Buzz just to see if I can get the easy 6-0 if he tries to lock himself into Stab or into something like HP Fire trying to get a kill. He actually goes for Ancient Power, so he makes the right read on that, so good on him. I decided to sack on my Mana Buzz, even though I probably could have just stayed in with Ferrothorn even and just scattered out what he wanted to go for. It's like I could probably take an HP Fire from that range. I don't know. I didn't preserve. I probably could have preserved the 6-0. I guess we'll see if it matters in the end. I really don't know. I don't know. With how close the playoff race is, I'm kind of regretting not keeping that differential point, but it is what it is. I threw him a bone, I guess, and it ends up being a 5-0 here as I'm going to let Megalot pick up the last kills. He does get the Ancient Power boost, so that's pretty cool as well. So that was a game that happened. I mean, it was a good game. I mean, obviously, the prep wasn't quite to the level that Bird is capable of, but there were a couple mistakes, shortened prep time. He literally had like 2 hours to build, so cut him some slack. That's not really his fault. But as for us, the Toronto Raptors, are now 5-5. We're out of the gutter. Finally, we're out of the gutter. And we have a +7 differential. So we are 5-5 +7. We are 4th in the conference, and that means we are back in the playoffs. So we are currently the 4th seed in the playoff picture for my conference, and I'm only 1 differential point behind Togobor, who is the 3 seed, and we're a little bit behind Matty Brolic and Iron Flash Gaming, but that's okay. We don't need to catch up to them. I'm just in the playoffs. That's where I want to be. Now it's just a matter of if I can get the 3 seed or the 4 seed and just make sure I hold on to this spot. As next week we have a game against Rizzy Pow, who is currently number 5 or number 6. I think number 6 in the conference. So that's a must-win game, followed by the final week of the season where I'll have a game against Moxie and Fernape, who is the 7th seed in the conference. So 2 games that are must-wins. I can definitely win them, and we'll just see if we can do this. So we're in a good spot. We're in a much better spot now than we were, 3 weeks ago when we were on that 3-game losing streak. That was not too fun, though. Not too fun at all, especially with like 3 straight 1-0 losses or something close like that. So yeah, we're past that. So we're 5-5. So we're in a good spot. So thanks for watching, guys. Rambled on a little bit here at the end, but that's about all there is to say about this. So make sure to check out my man Bird. I believe he is uploading his end of the battle on his channel. I'm not sure if it's an entirely serious narration. You'll kind of see for yourself. He just PM'd me a second ago saying it might not be the most serious narration, so we'll see on that. But I'll try to remember to I'll leave a link to his video in the description below. That might be a little bit better. I'll try to remember to do that. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all next time. Peace.